And Julie.
Tracy?
On the reject.
Call this meeting order, and lead us in pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to our June 11th town board meeting. First item of business is approve the minutes of the regular town board meeting on May 14th. Also John, second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, report of officers. Town clerk.
May report for 2025. Marriage license fees of $35. Clerk fees of $18.36. Certified copies, $190. Landfill fees and punch cards, $27,675. Fellows license and short-term vacation rentals, $325. Dog licensing fees, $212. Building permits, $167, and septic permits of $50. Total local shares remitted of $28,672.36.
Okay, supervisors report. Total monies on hand, $3,767,032.22. Assessor.
Assessor's report for June, grievance day for 2025 was held on Tuesday, May 27th, in the hearing room at the town hall. There were 2 cases filled this year. Due to the low amount of applicants, the board was able to make their determinations on the same date. The board's decisions were mailed out to parcel owners on June 5th. 2025 final roll is scheduled to be published on or about July 1st with the final equalization rate at 100%. Respectively.
Justice.
This for May 25, Judge Fisk. There was 52 cases, $3,190 in fines, $105 in fees, $1,659 in surcharge. Judge Carrillo, 73 cases, $3,845 in fines, $230 in fees, $1,807 in surcharge. Total new cases for May was 83. Total received in May was 10,836. Town share 6,205.
We have no dog report. Planning.
Planning, there were 2 septic and 7 land use development permits issued the month of May. Planning board and the zoning board have a meeting this month due to lack of applicants.
Enforcement.
Sent a notice to the owner of 59 Justin Lane regarding his intention, now that the weather has changed, about the buildings that we discovered up there, and I site visited them, and the buildings have been removed. Sent a notice to the owner of 278 Spring River Road regarding vehicles on the property. The winter conditions prevented their removal. He was given until June 2nd to comply. He now has ordered to come to court. Septic inspection at 80 Lake Avenue, photos were taken and placed in the file. Looked into complaint of garbage on a crossroad on Harrington Hill. There is little hope of actually seeing a person dumping there. Sent a letter to the owners of the property, which had a permit for a curb cut. They were told if the cut is not in place by the time the permit expires, they would be brought to court for non-compliance with their site plan review. Then the court returns to the owner of 32 King Street for rubbish on their property. They were in court and the situation will be resolved. Reviewed the APA determination for the concrete pour on property 211.13-4-29. The pour will be allowed. Issued 1 new short-term rental permit. The court with the owner of 56 Lake Avenue was given 2 weeks to comply with the court. They did not, and they were fined $100. If not completed by June 4th, 2025, the new tickets will be issued. Found the legal owner of 247 River Street, sent them a short-term packet. No reply has been forthcoming. A court order will follow. They have verified and taken photos that the property is being rented short-term. Met with the supervisor of Screw Lake and 3 town board members to discuss how our short-term rental law works and any issues we have with it. inspected, install at 37 Cloverleaf Drive for it, for taking the paper, placed in the file. And a warning notice, the owner of 455 State Route 418 garbage on the property, inspected a septic at 8 Grand Avenue, photos were taken and paperwork was placed in the file. Fire company was notified of all burn permits issued in May, and the end date of the burn ban. Investigated complaint of a driveway along State Route 9 and 2 small storage containers placed there. Discussed the court order for 30 River Street with the owner. The court case is set aside until July 2nd to allow time for the APA to answer the issue. Tags were prepared for distribution to property owners who failed to mow the properties in compliance with town codes. A copy for your review is supplied in your report. Due to no mow May, property checking will commence June 2nd should be 2025, and the notice will be sent. And as I didn't have it there, but as of June 3rd and through today, we've sent out 54 notices. They are exactly as supplied in your packet. They've been sent to property owners for grass and brush over height on their property. As per town code, the regulations, those receiving notices, regular certified mail, will have 15 days from the date of the notice to mow their lawns, or the contractor will mow them. And the billing would be applied to their taxes. Also, once the contractor, according to town statute, starts mowing the property, they will continue to mow these properties until the property owner notifies the town board in writing as to their arrangements to comply with the town codes. And I did have one guy come in that told me that rather than do all that, if I would just check his property once in a while and tell him when it needed to be mowed, he'd get it mowed. And I did have a lady I talked to, and she said, "Oh, you guys in the town's doing that? No, you got to mow your lawn again this summer?" I said, "Yeah, we're doing that. Mow your lawn again this summer."
Yeah, we had, Jim, just so you know, Jim.
Yeah.
We had a lady come into the town clerk's office this afternoon. She got the notice, and I spoke to her, and she was up at 292 Golf Course Road. She's gonna take care of it.
Mhm.
And she explained to me about the rain, and I said, we understand. So she
Oh,
just.
my lawn's mowed, and I've been rained right where they were, so.
Jim, I was telling you, she did what she did, she's notified, and all the town board members got a copy of that.
Yep.
Okay, highway, let's do that.
Highway, we spent 2 weeks, May 5th through May 15th, on brush and leaf cleanup. We have been finishing our sweeping in town. We have started construction of our pole barn and started our spring road work. With all the rain, we've been busy filling in washouts from the storms along the roads, trimming brush around signs and intersections. We've had 4 beavers removed from 3 different spots to prevent flooding and damage to road culverts. Respectfully submitted, Pete Madera.
Reports that we posted, we didn't get a beautification, the landfill, we haven't received a billing yet from the county. No historian museum that I'm aware of, and Parks and Rec, we do it. Reports from Parks and Rec Department, Sewer and Water Departments. Yeah, they'll be online. John, you want to take over, because the next 2 things came for the fire company, I gotta recuse myself.
Yep. All right, letter received from Warrenburg Volunteer Fire Company for the annual request for $500 for fireworks display Saturday, 2025 at Smoke Meter Jamboree. Received that letter. We need a resolution for
Yeah,
that?
I'll make that motion.
Second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion, all those? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. $500. The old business, resolution request to seek bids for resurfacing basketball courts. Town recreation, overlay
I
that.
want you to do the,
Letter received.
Yeah.
Letter received from Warrensburg Volunteer Fire Company to use the recreation field, South Smoke Eaters Jamboree, Monday, 21st through Sunday. Once again, that's resolution.
I'll make that motion.
And second,
I'll second. Second.
all, any discussion, all in favor? Saying aye. Well, carried.
All right.
Nice. Insult you. Alright.
both passed?
They passed.
All right, good. Old business, resolution seeking bids on resurfacing basketball courts. We didn't receive any quotes. So we'll have to re-put that out again. Next, we had a discussion last month about parking on River Road. And in order to make everything legal, we need to set a public hearing. There's information in your packet tonight. So if somebody want to make a motion to set a public hearing for the next board meeting, which will be,
Make the motion for
Yeah.
the public hearing on the local law. I want to make sure that the local law that we prepared is what you want it to say. We based it upon this, that we received at the last meeting,
Okay.
the Upper Hudson River Special Management Area Action Plan that DEC prepared and discussed with you. What's recited here in the agenda differs slightly from what was set forth in this document. So I want to make sure that what we prepared is what is accurate. So the local law that you have in your packets prevents parking on both sides of River Road in the town of Warrensburg. Obviously, we're not so concerned with Luzerne's section, nothing over there. Including what we've called the circular terminus, which apparently has been called the circle parking lot at times, but if we're going to prohibit parking there, I don't think we should have called it circle parking lot. So that's what we have said, and we've also said that there is a weight limit of 4 tons on all of River Road. I just saw here in the agenda that there is language about an 8-ton weight limit.
well, that's what we discussed last month.
Okay,
That was the last one.
So do we want it the 8 or the 4? What do we? And keeping in mind, this is just for the public hearing purposes. We're not adopting.
You can list it at 8 tons, and then we can always not move ahead with that weight limit.
Right, so you want the public,
Yeah.
the local law that is gonna be available for inspection, for the public hearing.
That's what we talked
The 8
about last month.
tons,
I got a comment here.
Okay.
if you don't mind. I'm okay with everything on there, except that we're putting a weight limit on a road, it's gonna put the business right out of business. It's probably gonna put them out
I
of
don't know
business.
what business you're referring to, but to be clear, we're not doing anything tonight. This is simply,
It's just public hearing.
I wanna make sure we've got the form of the local law in a fashion that we want published for notice for public hearing. So this is not setting the law at all, just to be clear.
So we can have discussion.
Thank you.
Right, so if we do the 8, you do not have to adopt it, you could ultimately take it out all, I mean, you could say no to the entire local law. You could modify it to change the 8 to 4, or take out the weight limit entirely, it will be up to the board after the public hearing.
One thing I would say is, I know Luzerne's doing the same thing as far as parking goes. We should probably keep the fines on parking the same when they determine.
So right now, all right, so we're gonna, Pam, just so you know, the one, you're gonna need to change that 4 tons to 8 on the local law. That's what needs to be available for inspection in your office, okay? That's after the public hearing notice is published.
I have a word file.
You do, yes, yep.
Thank you.
So as far as the fines goes, Warrensburg already had a pretty comprehensive vehicle and traffic article in its town code. So the way we've set this up modifies that chapter of your town code to list River Road as a no parking area and add this weight limit section. So as far as the fines, if this local law was adopted as written, it would just be the fines that are already set forth for violations of this chapter. And I can read those to you. It is, I think it's $100 for a first offense. Let me just flip to that section. $100 for a first offense, $200 for a second conviction within 18 months. And then a third or subsequent conviction within 18 months would go up to $300. So it's a graduated fine schedule. So that's what it would be now. I don't know what Luzerne is going to do as far as their fines. We could change those at a different time, but we've not set up the current local law to change the fines.
Okay, so.
If you want to, we can include that.
All right.
Can I ask you a question? With the fine, I don't deal with the fine, but is that mandatory $100 fine or up to $100 fine?
It's up to. A fine is not more than $100
Okay, so we'll set that public hearing for the 9th and we'll have discussion.
with the change to the 8 times.
Yeah.
Just- okay.
All right. Next item is band concerts.
Did we read up the resolution for it?
No,
You
we
do have a
gotta have it.
resolution before all of you to set that public hearing for the next meeting.
Motion,
So moved, yeah.
Brian,
Yep, second.
any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Carried. Next is band concerts start next Wednesday night in June 18th, and the Warren County Ramblers are the band up for the first band concert of the year. Thank you. You'll be available to MC.
We're good to go.
There you go.
Going to new business, we have a request from Kathleen Ferrell to be reappointed a 5-year term of the Board of Assessment Review, I believe starting in October this year and running for 5 years. Motion by John, second by Brian. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Michelle Roselle of Queensbury would like to set up an ice cream and hot dog cart at our weekly band concert. She currently does 2 towns, Stony Creek and Wills Heron. And she understands it's not gonna be a moneymaker. She's just gonna come in and set up and try it at the recreation field. So is the board okay with that?
Absolutely.
She will get the proper DOH permit. She needs a letter from us saying that, yeah. Robert, you wanna go ahead with the AMS and try to decipher what they gave us?
Well, how much of this information can I say here? I mean, it can't be foiled, so. They got they finally posted, everybody had copies, right? I'm not sure how much of this information might be put out. Is there a rule or regulation? I mean, they can't be foiled, so.
I've not seen it, so I can't weigh in on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I can't help you without.
Well, we can tell how many runs they made, and
Okay.
if you wanna know their balances, and say how much money they have at the end of the month.
Well, we got the table of contents here, we got.
We are not required to report any of it. I think these are the reporting that's required under your contract for them to provide you.
Sure.
Um,
But they send in the reports,
Okay,
and I,
so you're not required to read them at the meeting. It's up to you if there's information you want to share. But if you're concerned it's something you shouldn't, I'd err on the side of not sharing it. But again, I haven't seen it, so I can't.
I know, that's what I'm saying, I mean, I would love to give this information out. Now, the call statistics for January through April, I don't see an issue with that. But all the totals that they have here, they're wrong, and they don't even add up. So there's some, like, in January, the total call volume was 204. And in actuality, if you add up all the lists, it's 190, so it's not even accurate. So I don't know what do you want me to say about this? Are they reporting? Yeah, they're reporting, okay. In February, total calls were 181. If you add up all the numbers here, it's 165. So in March, the total calls were 211. You add up the numbers, it's 202. Same with April, 191 total call volume, and it adds up to 185 instead of 191. So
we can bring that to their attention.
Huh?
We can bring it to their attention.
okay. Call statistics, total. All right, here we go. Financial highlights. This is for March. Total account is $534,253.17. Total revenue is $96,391.12. Total payables $145,388 and 90 cents. Now, the end of March, balance was 4,000, like I said, 485,255 and 39 cents. So, and in the beginning of April, total accounts of $472,340.37. There's a difference of $12,915 between the end of March and the first of April. So there's a question there too. So, but they're reporting. I'm not sure how much more you want me to say here. It's all in black and white. And
I'll tell them to check their numbers.
I kind of wish you had given me a heads up that you wanted me to
Well, I
report
didn't know
on
you
this.
were gonna do
I
it.
certainly would have been more prepared for it.
Next, we have a resolution from Emily Riker. Is she here? You wanna come up and address the board?
Sure.
Emily,
Right here.
it's about the right on Parker Street.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I'm new in town. Hi to everyone in the room. Maybe some of you have seen me around, I don't know. So I'll get to it. I have requested to name the private road that exists currently on Pucker Street, right past where the blacktop ends, is how I've heard to refer to it. Anybody familiar with that will know that there is a legal right-of-way through the Forest Lake property that jogs right into what is now my property, through to the Burns and several other properties. Before I could do anything, I needed an E911. And the county sent me right back here and said, we need you to resolve a private road due to the fact that there are so many of those right-of-ways in order to get that done. And so that's why I'm here.
So that's what she's asking, that we approve the private road name that's in your.
Gentleman Gardens Way.
Yes, Forest Lake Camp came up with that. I really liked it.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Would need to make a motion? Scott, we have a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Brian to name it,
Gentleman Gardens Way.
there you go, Gentleman Gardens Way. And if you want to get a sign, you have to order it. We'll order it for you if you need a road sign put up.
Okay,
I
yes,
think
sir.
it's
will.
around $100.
Yeah, I'm sure I have a long way to go, honestly, before then, but I appreciate it time tonight.
Hey, how are the old barns doing in there? Way back there, did they survive?
You know, there's some really cool structures. So the forester
Yeah.
who had been stewarding that, I guess, 800 acres, who's doing the conservation work there, they put me in contact with him and he walked me through the whole property. We saw, I guess, Strawberry Barn, or
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stone foundations that I'm interested in checking out and seeing what the history is there too. So if anybody knows, come my way.
An old timer told me once about one of the barn dances there when he was young. He said there was people with Cadillac cars and fancy
That's
cars
so
that would
cool.
drive all the way in there, you know, so
Yeah,
there was a road there at one time. You know?
there was. It's not quite passable now, but we have an agreement to create a maintenance agreement so that somebody will keep it
Nice.
top shape, which is neat.
Congratulations.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
My girl, Joyce.
Now I need a resolution request to rescind resolution number 70 of 2025, and that was to accept the quote from Flatley Reed Incorporated, to continue grant writing services. Apparently with grant writing, well, I'm gonna let Pam, you explain it to them. We had to rescind it because we needed to put out an RFQ.
Yes, exactly. We need to put out an RFQ.
So we-
Never sent one.
We did. and,
Yes.
We got three quotes back.
I'll just read the notice
Sure.
real quick. The town of Warrensburg is seeking qualifications from a consulting firm, expert in administration, program delivery, and environmental regulatory compliance of the state and federal funded community development, including but not limited to housing rehabilitation and mobile home replacement. The town is an equal opportunity employer, minority and women-owned businesses, and Section 3 individuals and businesses are encouraged to apply. And they were supposed to apply by today at 4 o'clock.
Correct.
So I got 3 Flatley Reed's quote. Like last time, it was $5,000. Then we have one from G&G Municipal Consulting and Grant Writing out of Spencerport, New York, at $39,000. That's an annual amount. And then the third one was Sunrise Enterprises out of Maitland, Florida, and that was $55,000.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, we gotta first.
We'll have to rescind
Yes,
that.
there's a motion to rescind the.
Okay. We have a second.
Second.
John, to rescind resolution number 7. Okay, then you've heard the 3 requests for proposals we got back. What's the pleasure of the board?
I like Flatley Reed.
Okay, you make a motion?
Yes, I will.
Second.
Second by John to approve Flatley Reed. Any discussion?
I got, when we get ready to, when Flatley Reed gets ready to present, any of these, programs, will they come in front of us and explain in detail what they're?
Sure. I think it's just continuing on what they've been doing for us.
Just have them come in front of us.
Sure.
All right, then I'll be okay with that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. The summer rec program, we did the applications for that this year. We have a lot more applications than we have positions for, although we did hire a few more kids for the summer rec program. We're taking 14 counselors for the sports program, which is probably 4 more than we normally did. I think on the arts and craft program, we're taking 6, and that's a couple more. So we're able to cover the cost of the summer. I mean, it was nice to have so many kids come in for interviews, and they all did pretty well. I really hate to write those letters where you're not going to give somebody a job. So, but we had to do it this year. So that will start on right before or around the 4th of July, right? What's the date?
July 7th. it
July
starts.
7th. And everybody goes to mandatory CPR, which will be the 30th of June. And then we'll start. Before I do the budget modifications, does anybody else wish to address the board tonight on any subject? Sure. Just go to the mic and speak.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board. My name is Ryan Pizzulo. I'm an attorney and I represent Charles Lagon. We're before the board this evening seeking an open development space under Section 280A of the town law. This board may be familiar with Brown's Court. And so my client owns a vacant piece of residential property at the terminus of Brown's Court. And he would like to put a single family home, get a building permit for a single family home. And we've, made submittals to this board with plot plans, and we've outlined the dimensions of the right of way. And the open development space is a function of the town law that allows for development on a piece of property that doesn't otherwise front a public right of way. We have access to a public right of way by virtue of a deeded right of way that is in common with other existing homes on Brown's Court. So we're here to ask the board to approve the open development area so that a building permit could be issued and a single family house can be built. And we're here to answer any questions that this board may have, any points of clarification that it may need.
Jackie, you want to
Yeah, I can kind of
give
remind the
us
board
direction? Yes.
of where we are here. So, of course, Mr. Lagon, am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. Was here before the board previously. under this town law, section 288, which allows for the designation of an open development area so that we can get a building permit for property that has access via an easement instead of direct access on a town road. As you'll recall, we referred the matter to the planning board, which is required under New York State town law. The planning board got back to us. The town board ultimately did not act. There was litigation, and we received a decision from the court that basically said, town board, it's got to go back to you three to make a decision, one way or the other. It does not have to go back to the planning board. That was clear in the judge's decision, that it went to the planning board, that portion of it, the review is done, and it's back to you for review. So at this point, you could deny or approve that open development area. If you feel that you need more information from the applicant, you should ask for that now. You don't, if you want to take time to think and craft an approval or denial, you can do that and consider it again next month. But if anyone's feeling comfortable moving forward tonight, you could do that as well.
I'll open up to any questions if anybody has any questions.
There was a question about fire protection. If the fire department would be able to get in there. Was that ever resolved?
Well, I will say this, we are within the fire code radius to a fire hydrant, so we are under the maximum allowable distance from fire hydrant. And the right-of-way itself is actually 10 feet wider than the minimum required by the statute, that 280A section of the town law. My clients improved it with gravel millings. There are other owners adjacent to it, all of which would be responsible for things like snow removal, ice removal, clearing obstructions, and ensuring adequate access to the public right-of-way. And I will say this, we don't actually have the legal authority. We're not offering this for dedication to the town to take over as a public right-of-way. The town would not be required to maintain it, pave it, remove snow, things of that nature. However, I will say that the town does have code enforcement authority. So if there became a condition that the town found unacceptable on that right-of-way, you could certainly issue compliance orders through your code enforcement and issue tickets to the owners and ensure, that, say a tree fell down and nobody removed it, right? You could write tickets and require that the owners remove it and make sure that the right-of-way is clear and has adequate access.
I don't think it's so much we would be worried about. It's if you sell that property to somebody, whoever buys that property needs to know that it's not serviceable by a town road. And we've had other plans come up before us and we've made them put that into any contract they do or any plot plan that they let the buyer of the single whatever gets built there. That was one thing. And as far as the fire codes go, I read your information, the hydrant's out on Library Avenue. The fire company's not gonna snake a hose through somebody's backyard to meet the, whatever you feel is the fire code. I mean, with this hose, it's 5-inch hose. They got to go all the way down Library Avenue into Browns Court and then back to the property. I just want to clarify that. So, it looks nice on the map that you presented to the planning board, but that's not 100% the fact because everything's 5-inch hose now. They're not going to stake it through somebody's backyard, but that's neither here nor there. That was the real issue of getting a fire truck in there and being able to give good fire protection because you're on a non-town road. So we've had that case before coming from us in 1978. And there is places up on Common Lake we do not provide fire protection to. And for me, I would want if you sell that property in the past, we need the buyer beware that it's not a town right away or town road. I understand what you're saying. So that's my take on it.
To address your first point about a subsequent buyer, the right-of-way is a deeded right-of-way, which means it runs with the land. It attaches with the property. So any subsequent buyer, when they are a purchaser in an arm's length transaction for fair market value, they're going to have the benefit of the deed in front of them. And it is right in the deeded language. That cannot be changed by a current owner. You can't change your deed unless you convey it to somebody. With it goes the right of way. It's not able to be extinguished. So the owner of that property, their ownership is subject to all of those other properties' right of ways, and they can't change that. That's a property vested right. So any subsequent purchaser would be on notice based on the public record and the deed history of the access being over a right of way.
So that would come up through a title search?
It absolutely would, yeah, that would be.
Yeah, that's it, because we've had people come to us and say, you know, they want the town, oh, this is not town road. So we just need to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
That was my biggest concern.
That is part of the public record
Okay.
it's in all of the deeds along Grounds Court. And that was one of the requests of the planning board last year and we submitted everybody else's deed in the public record. So a purchaser comes along, and if they have a mortgage, the title search is required. But even if it's a cash buyer, and Ms. White can also attest to this, it's your due diligence is to do a title search and to get title insurance. The title insurance company searches the public record, looks at all the deeds and all the conveyances going back typically a 40-year period or more. And they're going to see, okay, yeah, it was conveyed subject to this right of way back when, and it followed through all of the deeds for subsequent owners, and that would be in place going forward. So there would not be, in my mind, any issue with a subsequent buyer.
I'm fine with it.
And just for the board's own knowledge, our town highway inventory is maintained online by the state. I can look up any town's highway inventory, you know, from my phone right now to confirm what are in fact town roads. If somebody's not on that list, it's not a town road. So that is publicly available information.
And a suggestion, if the board is comfortable with approving it, in your approval resolution, you could certainly put in, this is not a town road and the town is not obligated to maintain it. We're not taking ownership of it because it's private property.
Yeah, I think we've done that before. Another.
Well, the fact that we're going through this process is because it's not a town road. So it's really, I'm all for, we've held him up long enough.
I'm not opposed to it, just for clarity, like for the deed, I'm almost set.
You had a question, Jim?
I do.
For
As far as like the code enforcement, that property, I don't care who owns it, that property is at the end of the right of way. I don't know how many other people are serviced off that right of way, but it's not a homeowners association down there. So if, let's say, snow needs to be removed, which property owner do you send the notices to? And if the property owner on the front end says, I'm not plowing that because to get access to his house, where do you go with that? That's my only question.
We could help you with that if that ever arose. We can help
I'm
you with
happy to
that if that
respond to
ever
that.
arose.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would suggest you send them to all the property owners, and then at the end of the day, it's ultimately the owner's responsibility to make sure that that's clear, and that responsibility is shared equally by all of the owners and the easement holders on
Does
that.
it say that in their deeds that they're all responsible to clear the right of way?
That I don't believe that there's a maintenance agreement in place, but that is incumbent upon easement holders to maintain the access, and the actual owner whose property is burdened by the easement legally cannot take any measures to obstruct. And there's, I actually have litigation going on right now where the owner, somebody has an easement over their property, is blocked it off. And you're quite literally not allowed to do that. You can't infringe upon somebody's access rights when they have an easement. So the maintenance would be the responsibility of all the owners, and the access would be the easement holders enforcing and ensuring their own deeded property rights.
Well, I did give you an example. I own property on Sherman Lake at one time. And that right of way in there down through, everybody had a right of way to drive across it. We were 3/4 of the way down the road. If I wanted to go in there in the wintertime and plow the road off, I had to do it on my own. I didn't go to the other people and say, I'm gonna charge you, or you're gonna get somebody here to plow the road off. They said, if you want to get to your camp, then you plow the road. That's my only question.
That makes sense, but, okay. Jackie, what will we need to do to allow them to move forward?
So if this is approved, if you wish to approve it just by a resolution. So it would be a resolution approving an open development area. I would recommend that you cite the tax map number and street address if it has one. I'm not sure. It's
Nine Brown Court.
Somebody want to make that a motion?
I'll approve and make a report.
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
Do you
All
have, I want to make sure we have, do you have the tax map number with you? So
Sure.
you have it. All right, so this is a motion to establish an open development area for 9 Browns Court.
Yep.
Identified as sorry, I just think it's best if we use the tax map number.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
So we're all clear.
We got all night.
You had it. Hold on, bear with me. I apologize.
I'm not trying to make it so difficult.
I'm trying to remember. I don't know if that was ever mentioned in any of our paperwork.
I think it was, I just don't have the whole file.
Okay.
I have it right here.
All right.
All right, it is 210.20-5-15.
Okay, thank you.
So it's a resolution to establish an open development area at 9 Browns Court, identified as tax map number 210.20-5-15.
Okay, we have a motion, and we have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. You're all set.
Thank you for your time,
Yeah,
Judge.
you understand our concerns, though, about fire protection.
Of course.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Does anybody else want to address the board tonight? Please step forward.
Claire Bates. I just want to thank all of you for letting me do the concerts again this year. And on, not this first concert, the second concert, there will be a table of a tribute to Pat with pictures and some memorabilia. If any of you want to come, we're going to do that at 6, so we don't hold the band up at 7.
We had a lot of people looking to take over for you.
I've been getting
No.
phone calls
No.
about Pat and about the concerts. I need a secretary. But seriously, thank you for letting me do it again.
All right.
I hope to see some of you there. You were there last year. I conned him into talking to the crowd last year. Thank you.
I didn't swear. Anybody else wish to address? Nobody? Okay, motion, well, I have, budget modifications. The first one is for $11.14 to take out of contingent funds and put it in unemployment funds to pay an unemployment benefit. I'm a former employee. Second one is a highway, taking $5,200 out of the machinery contractual, moving into machinery equipment to pay for highway equipment. And the third one is sewer fund, taking $5,439.30 out of sanitary sewers contractual, moving into sanitary sewers equipment. Somebody want to make a motion to do the budget? I'll say John, second by Brian, approve the budget modifications. Warrant number 6 tonight, it's $184,234.72. Majority of it is community development block grant funding, and that's been going very well, along with the Main Street funding. Somebody want to make that a motion? Pay the warrant.
I'll make that motion.
Brian? Second. Second by Robert. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have one employee of the month nomination. It's Jason Smith with the Highway Department. He was nominated by KJ Olden. And the Highway Department would like to nominate Jason Smith for the Employee of the Quarter. Jason has covered the storm and has stepped up and gone above and beyond, stopping to fix beaver damage and made road repairs. So this month's Employee of the Quarter will be Jason Smith. We'll put his name on the plaque out and offer him congratulations. Jason Smith. That's good. Anybody else? Nobody else? Last chance to address the board. We need to go into executive session. No? So motion to go into executive session to discuss possible litigation. Motion by Jack.
Second.
Yes, second by John to go into executive session. Jack, you want to give the proper wording?
That's fine.
That's okay.
Discuss potential litigation. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought I was just gonna put that in.
In the afternoon, we always.
It's nice. I would never be.
Got it, yeah.
I appreciate it.
Why don't we do it in this room because it's kind of tight. All right.